YouTube ads are done. They're finished. They don't work anymore. I know that YouTube ads have changed a lot. In fact, my approach to YouTube ads and how I run them has also changed. But in this video, I want to cover all of the secrets that we've kind of discovered over the last year or so with all of the changes with YouTube ads. And I want to show you and straight up tell you exactly what is working and what's not. Because believe it or not, the ads and ad accounts that we're running at my agency are seeing unparalleled growth. So all of these businesses are actually doing much better now in 2025 and heading into Q3, Q4 than they were last year and the beginning of this year. And you might be wondering, how is that even possible? Like with all of the changes, I'm going to show you exactly what it is that we use to get the best out of campaign types like Performance Max and Demand Gen, as well as how we're leveraging all of these new YouTube ad formats like YouTube short ads. And if you like what you hear in this video and you want us to run your ads for you and you want to go back to the glory days of YouTube advertising, please check the top link in the description down below. Now, the first thing I want to assure you is that YouTube ads aren't broken. Demand Gen and Performance Max campaigns aren't terrible, despite what you might hear out there. And I will say the people that are saying these things are either not spending enough money or they're approaching campaigns and setting them up incorrectly. Like I said, we're seeing quite the opposite. In fact, we're seeing a very big lift across the majority of our clients thanks to shifting everything to Demand Gen and Performance Max campaigns. Those are the two new campaign types that we've been using and we use for about 90% of our strategy. Again, you have to approach things very differently now with all of these new changes. Again, with us, we aren't really messing around with video view and video reach campaigns like we were before, especially for remarketing. We really aren't messing around with those type of campaigns. Everything runs to Performance Max as well as Demand Gen for us. And shifting to these new campaign types, I kind of want to encapsulate my overarching theme when it comes to all of the changes to my approach. And what I will say is I'm basically trusting Google a lot more now and working with their new suggestions and ad formats that they've been bringing out. And that's where I'm seeing the biggest returns, right? So when a new client comes in, I am now looking to launch both Performance Max and Demand Gen campaigns, though it does depend client to client. And I am trying to get assets for all the different ad formats out there. I'm trying to get, short form vertical videos for YouTube short ads. I'm trying to get those longer videos for more traditional in-stream placements, as well as image assets for in-feed placements. I think those things are super important now. There are some nuances still, like for example, if a client has zero advertising experience, they weren't running Meta or Google search ads, well then I might probably will stay away from Performance Max campaigns and I'll just go with Demand Gen. If a client has a ton of history with advertising, especially if they have a lot of advertising spend on YouTube ads, then I will go and put an emphasis towards Performance Max campaigns, especially if they've been running PPC campaigns. We also use Performance Max campaigns nowadays for a lot of remarketing and as a catch-all because it has all of the different placement types, especially when we're trying to scale, right? Those new different placement types have been a real gem for us. Next up, I'm using those brand new ad formats that are now available to us. So things like YouTube short ads. If a client comes in and they've been running vertical ads on Instagram Reels and TikTok Reels, you bet I'm launching Demand Gen campaigns where we're isolating for just that placement and running campaigns for that. So definitely using a lot of those things, especially if they're, doing those short form ads as well as like they have an organic YouTube channel. So if the client is well versed in having good clickable titles and thumbnails, well, I'm bringing some of that organic side into my Demand Gen in-feed ads. And this big blend of different assets and placements and what Google's calling new channels, it kind of brings me to another big change that I was kind of forced to implement with these new changes, which was that I really had to give up my old glued in ways of having a 1-1-1 campaign structure. I was really glued to this particular strategy. I thought, when you had to run YouTube ads, you had to have one campaign, one ad set, one ad. And that was great when you were running video action campaigns. However, that's not really the case with demand gen and performance max campaigns. And don't worry, I'll still go through examples of how I set up specific campaigns now. But I want to mention that, yeah, because you're having all of these placements and these different assets, it doesn't make sense to not utilize Google's algorithms when it comes to optimizing, right? So you want to have different ad formats in a specific ad. So you're not just relying on 1-1-1. Now your ads are going to look like 1-1-many. In fact, I'd even get away from 1-1, right? That's been another change that we've been implementing that I've seen huge results with, which is getting away from the fact that each campaign only needs one ad group. Nowadays, we're having 3, 4, 5 different ad groups with various different audiences inside these campaigns. And this is especially true for our demand gen campaigns. So a typical campaign might look like a variety of different audiences inside those different ad groups, and each ad groups is going to have like different assets. It's going to have like image ads, it's going to have shorts ads, it's going to have your traditional video ads, as well as like Gmail headlines. So that 1-1-1 structure that I was preaching and really glued to over the last few years, completely gone, completely changed. And that's what I've found to be one of the biggest needle movers when it comes to getting performance out of these new campaign types. That's some of the big changes that I'm approaching YouTube ads with, which is having all of the different placements, a bunch of different audiences, mixing those up inside different ad groups and letting campaigns run. That's also been one of the other things. I've also found trusting Google a little bit more with spend, whereas like before I would say your total campaign budget should only be 2 to 3 times your target CPA. I've kind of moved away from that as well. I'm letting Google have more budget, have campaigns run a little bit longer. And I have found after a while, optimization does happen very frequently. Whereas like before, I was very quick to turn campaigns off. If by like the second day and we've spent 4 to 5x the target CPA. So like, let's say our target CPA was $50. We've spent $200 on a campaign. I would have cut it. Nowadays, I'm actually launching campaigns at 2 to 3x your target CPA as a daily budget. So let's say, again, $50 is my target CPA. My daily budget is going to be somewhere between $100 and $150, and I'm going to let that campaign run for at least a few days. So definitely letting them run longer. And the reason I find I need to do this is, again, because we have a ton of different assets inside these campaigns. We have a ton of different ad audiences. You are going to need a significant amount or a substantial amount of spend in each of these variables to try and figure out what works. I have found, though, that when you try and isolate for these variables, campaigns almost never work. So that's been one of like the weird things that, again, has led to us shifting with this approach. Like if you just run a demand gen campaign with one very tight audience with one very specific ad type, right? Like if you just run skippable in-stream ads just on YouTube to a very minor customer list, those campaigns don't do as well, especially for like demand gen, right? So really moved away from that. And because of that, you need to have more spend so that all of your audiences, all of your assets get ample ad spend to really figure out if they're going to work on or not. Now, I will say these are only a handful of insights that we've kind of covered and found. The rest of them, they either live with our clients or are students inside our YouTube ads program. So if you're interested in those, click the top link in the description down below. And I hope you guys can start making YouTube ads work for yourself.